Today I want to talk about when people start going deep with their own self-development and lucidity practices. Some of the things that can happen is they start recognizing who they really are and valuing themselves much, much more. And this might mean that they realize they deserve a better job, maybe a better partner, or to travel the world, to go to all these places that they may have dreamed of going, making friends with people who are on the same wavelength that they're on. There's so many different shifts that can take place. And for me, lucid dreaming and lucid living practices really open up this entire concept where you recognize you can do whatever it is that you desire to do. You can truly start to live a life that you are obsessed with, and the universe begins to reward you for following your deep passions and desires. And this concept many people describe as their mini spiritual awakening, or being red-pilled, so to speak, recognizing that you are this conscious creator of your life and that you can dream as big as your heart desires. So for this session, I want to talk about layers of spiritual awakenings that are bound to happen for you if you have decided to consciously create your life, bring your dreams to a reality, if you're going into entrepreneurship, or you're in entrepreneurship, or aspiring to be an entrepreneur, and after you've deepened your connection to God, your connection to Source. This problem, I guess, that comes up is in connection to manifestation, to things that are not coming into creation in the way that you think they should. And I want to share some of my own personal journey to help really illustrate this. So let me take you back to a couple of years ago when I had just moved to the US. So I'd arrived in Colorado. I was working a job that I'd started in the UK remotely, and I was also in the middle of doing my Master's of Science program, so I was conducting a lot of lucid dreaming research for my thesis at this time. Living in this tiny apartment with my husband, super cheap, and we'd begun putting together all these plans for our life together in America. I had all these ideas about what I wanted that to look like, living the American dream. And we'd gotten married, so it was like, okay, well then I need a house, I need to start with my family, and the whole shebang. And I wanted this so badly to come into creation. Unknowingly, I had gone into this extreme grasping or trying mode. So I'd ended up getting myself 7 different part-time jobs. I was cleaning floors, I was washing dishes, I was cleaning yoga studios, I was working in retail, I was serving in restaurants, I was doing marketing and event management online. It was a complete mess, and everything was a complete struggle. I was so confused because I felt like I was pushing so hard to make money and do the hustle, and none of my dreams were coming to fruition. Even working these jobs, I was barely able to save money. I was burnt out, I was stressed, and it was taking a toll on my marriage, on my health, my wellness. So I stopped, and I knew I needed guidance. I needed someone who could help me see everything from the outside in. And this is where I decided that I really needed to go all in and bet on myself. I was invested into all these other businesses and jobs, but I was ignoring a huge part of the picture, which was actually me, right? So for the first time ever, I decided to invest in a coach. I wanted someone who could help me focus on both the macro of the situation and the micro, and who had experience in building the life of their dreams and had experience in what it really takes to do that. And I want to share a ton of these lessons with you guys tuning in today. So the first lesson is what I would call layer 1 of a spiritual awakening, and that's deciding on crafting your own vision. So this was one of the best decisions that I had ever made in my life, because during that year where I worked with my coach, I was able to really go deep in thinking about what is it that I really want. Not just what has society or the environment that I grew up in told me would look nice, or what I had in my head of what my life is supposed to look like and the steps that I'm supposed to take to get there. But what do I want to prioritize in my life, and what do I want to design my life to actually look like? And at first, it was really hard to go big with those big dreams, those deeper desires, because in all honesty, I'd never experienced anyone telling me that I could truly create whatever kind of life it was that I wanted to live. I'd never had anyone guide me before, step by step, in deeply focusing on the things that mattered most to me. Working with a coach really enabled me to find the strength, to find the courage and the confidence within myself to really go big when I started talking about what I really wanted to do with my life. And I knew it was going to be a big leap because actually it didn't exist. The thing I wanted to do did not exist. I was making up a job, lucid living and lucid dreaming coaching. At the time, this was a non-existent career path, right? So it wasn't like I had this dream where I could just go and apply or get the courage to apply to the company that I wanted to work for. But the more that I started working on myself, the more I was finding that I was running out of excuses for why I couldn't bring that into creation if I really wanted to. So fast forward a couple of months, I started up my own business. I launched Get Lucid with Lana LLC. And I wish I could say to you that the rest was history and it all went real smooth from there, but it did not. I would say that it was definitely a huge shift. It was a mini awakening, but that was just the beginning. So I finished working with my coach and I just launched my business. And at this point, I was only working one other part-time job. And that was a great lesson that I learned from coaching, is that if you're focused on too many different things, your quality goes down. So it's best to focus on fewer things and give it high quality to those things than to split your energy between a million different things and do each of them with low quality. And this brings me into the layer 2 that I call a spiritual awakening, which is deciding to follow your true calling. So then this similar pattern came up as it was the first time. Even though I was only doing 2 different jobs now, working on my business and doing one other job on the side, I was still getting pulled in all these different directions. It was hard to go between working for myself and doing this thing that I loved so much, and then working for someone else and doing a thing that I felt was just taking up my time for a paycheck. And I noticed that time and time again, I would have to brush my business to the side for other opportunities that looked nice and shiny at the time. They had a set amount of income, but I would take these opportunities and they weren't satisfying me. Every time I turned to money over my true passions, I noticed how things would start going wrong. So I decided to finally take the plunge. I took a big risk and I decided to quit my day job and go all in on my business. And this was the biggest bet that I had ever placed on myself in my life. It wasn't a cash investment like it was hiring my first coach, but it was truly deciding to just go all in. I bet with my entire being. I bet with myself. But I had this thought, this mini awakening, this second awakening, where I thought, if I'm truly not willing to bet on myself, bet on me being able to do this, then where am I even really going with this idea, right? So the week that I did it, I received this affirmation from God, because that week, the week that I went all in on my dreams, decided to really follow my passions, I made 4 times as much in my business as I would make monthly in the day job that I just quit that week. So that gave me a real glimmer into what I was capable of when I decided to really go after my dreams. And I thought it was amazing how this affirmation came in so quickly and it all started to manifest. And suddenly, when I had put my energy and my focus on my true calling, it was like everyone else and the universe responded to me that way as well. Like, oh, she's really serious about this. I'm serious about being a part of it too. I heard this phrase before, went something like, people only believe in you as much as you believe in you. And that really made a lot of sense to me. If I wasn't confident enough to go all in on myself, or if I wasn't confident enough about the work that I was providing, the service that I was wanting to provide, why would anyone else pay me for my services or believe in me either? So I truly felt that the more I went all in on my lucid dreaming practices, people could feel that, and my business started to grow. And this is where, again, I wish I could tell you that it was all sunshine and butterflies and I lived happily ever after. But God was not done with me yet. So right where I got to this point where students were coming in, I was feeling nice, I was feeling comfortable, it felt like everything was working out. We enter March 2020, where I had my one-on-one sessions booked up each week, I had retreats planned out for the whole year, I was feeling great about everything, it was all running smooth. And COVID hit, the pandemic happened. So bring in layer 3, which is the spiritual awakening I call just fully leaning into faith. So I was slowly watching on as everything that I had planned for the year was just falling to pieces. Tons of my private clients were in tricky positions with their jobs, with money. They needed to put their sessions on pause. I had to stand by and watch as my retreat was postponed. And this was not just being postponed for like a month or a week, but at this point, just indefinitely. We had no idea how long this was going to last. So everything that I had just put the past 6 months to a year of my life into building was suddenly gone. And so this was where I believe I had that third layer of a spiritual awakening, and I had to just let go and let God and totally just lean into faith. And upon making this decision and let going of that control, I had an incredibly powerful lucid dream. In this lucid dream, I'm sat at this table. I'm surrounded by different students, different mentors, different people in my life who are all just in celebration with me. And they're talking about projects they've completed and successes in their business and relationships in their lives. And this triggers lucidity for me in this dream because I'm listening to one of my students tell me about something that she'd completed and she's celebrating that. And I had that thought, recognition, that this was something she was still working on in her waking life at that time. And so that entered me into lucidity. And it was incredibly powerful. The scene was kind of like that Last Supper type scenario where we're all around this big table. And actually I was so overwhelmed with happiness and ecstasy of everything that was being discussed that I had to take myself outside, where I go to this outside scene. I'm standing on a beach, I'm looking out into the ocean. I'm still lucid, everything feels very real. I can smell the sea, I have the sea breeze blowing on my face. And then I start receiving this download of all this information of what has gotten me to this point. And if you haven't had a lucid dream before, this might be a little bit hard to fully comprehend or understand. But at least for me, I've had many lucid dreams now where I've been directly able to tap into source, collective consciousness, my higher self, to meet with God face to face. And so during these experiences, I would bet on any lucid dreamer being able to tell you this, how you're able to just deeply tap into this information and receive information that you didn't have access to in the waking state. It's only accessible in these altered states. So I wake up from this dream having downloaded all this information, and I just start writing everything down. I had spreadsheets up, I had notepads, sticky notes out, and I began putting together this skeleton of everything that I saw, which would turn into the Lucid Entrepreneur Lab. And little did I know at that time that by simply letting go, kind of giving in and just trusting was where I would be able to have that kind of awakening to be able to receive and truly tap into this information, receive exactly what I needed for truly bringing my bigger dreams to a reality. And the lab has been the greatest experience of my life, being able to share with so many entrepreneurs all around the world lucid dreaming practices and lucid living practices for self-development, introspection, how to have their next biggest business breakthroughs, working on creative insights, problem solving, deepening their own spiritual practices, and experiencing things, quite frankly, that are considered completely impossible by the average person. Inducing psychedelic experiences and out-of-body experiences and shared dreaming and telepathic dreaming. And for me and many of the other lucid entrepreneurs, this is one of the biggest spiritual awakenings that you can then go on to experience for yourself. And this is what I call a level 4 spiritual awakening, where you're really tapping into that collective consciousness and having these kind of transpersonal connections and experiences that you just can't unless you're in that altered state. But when you're able to taste what life can be like at your highest potential, it's extremely hard to wake up and then just go on ignoring those dreams that have been planted within you. When you're able to experience what it feels like when your student hits those bigger goals, you will do everything in your power to bring that into reality, to get them there. When you're able to experience how your ideas can come to life in your lucid dream space and see how to do it, why would you not want to wake up and then do it? So these are 3, and obviously I'm briefly touching on 4 layers of spiritual awakenings that I believe have to occur for any entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur who is really feeling ready to bring their dreams to life and start following their passions. And maybe just me sharing on some of these today, you're recognizing for yourself which one you're going through right now. And if you are, please let me know where you're at. I want to leave you with this thought. So to remember that the journey doesn't always look like what you exactly expect it to look like. Sometimes the things that you don't want to happen have to happen so that the thing that you didn't even know could be the best part can happen. For me, that was in the shape of my retreats being completely impossible to host. And now they're back up, by the way. So I'm so excited to see some of you who have secured your spot for April 2022. I didn't even have a concept for the Lucid Entrepreneur Lab. And here I sit with it, being able to fully enjoy it being the best thing to ever happen to my business. So when you're putting your goals, your plans into place, don't make the same mistake that I did and feel like you have to chase money first or you have to do another thing first to be able to make that thing come into existence. It might be that you've been told the steps have to be XYZ. Perhaps you're focused on the wrong thing or the wrong way that you have to come up with what it is you need to do. I want you to remember that you're not crafting this vision for anyone else. This is about crafting the vision for yourself, making it look like what it needs to look like for you. You're not following what everyone else says you have to do or the normal process that you have to go through. You're following what you know that you're here to do. You're not going to get stuck on what this has to look like in your mind or your reality and the steps that you need to take to get there. You're opening yourself up to having faith that if you trust yourself, if you bet on yourself, if you get lucid in your life, if you get lucid in your dreams, and you really start tapping into that flow, letting it all flow, that it can come to fruition for you. Don't grasp too tightly on what you think has to happen for you to reach your goal. So thank you so much to everyone who's tuning in today, either live or if you're watching on replay. If you have questions, thoughts, feelings about this, leave them in the comments below. I will go through every single one and reply to you personally. If you want to do what I'm doing, if you're ready to bring your dreams to life and you would like guidance in the process of doing this, I would love you to join us in the Lucid Entrepreneur Lab. We have a couple of spaces left for this January start date. You can apply via my website, which is lanasakwal.com/the-lucid-entrepreneur-lab. I'll put that in the link in the comments somewhere for you. But wishing you all an amazing weekend full of big dreams, abundance, and awakenings. Bye.